Hey everybody, I want to do a crazy hard hat hair talk today about unions versus non-union, and without going into too much detail, just what they like, what purpose they serve. Because a lot of people don't know. They're like, oh, is it like basically like a temp agency? Like, what's the value that you get out of it? Um, and I would just like to point out, I guess, that um, tools are very, very expensive, and I think that kind of gets lost in the sauce a lot of the time. A lot of guys think like that's the cost to play, basically, and they're like, oh well, I don't have experience, I need tools to get to be able to do these things. Like, I'll play ball, and they'll play ball, and then they realize that they're buying tools, and it's been a year, and then they're buying tools, and it's been 3 years, and they're still buying tools, and it's been 5 years, and I think after a certain point, it's like this doesn't ever really end, and there's like a lot of consumable stuff as well. Like, certain jobs will not provide like oscillating tool blades or bandsaw blades, depending on the size of bandsaw you have. Reciprocating saw blades. Say you have a tap kit that breaks, a drill bit that goes dull. Like, all those things are something that can eventually break and will break, and company responsibility just shrugs it off. So I'm not saying you don't, like, you personally, like, I'm not saying you don't have to not buy those tools if you go union. Like, if you want to do electrical work on the side so that you can like run residential work for yourself, I'm not saying that you don't like it's not possible for you to do that. I know that certain places make you sign like a non-compete and stuff in a sense, but honestly, I don't think you taking a small job in a residential setting where someone just wants a plug is going to do anything to negatively affect the greater state of employment in the electrical industry or anything like that. So, and at the end of the day, you're trying to get ahead. So I don't really understand that criticism, especially when it's just talking about a very small niche part of the market in the first place. So, but yeah, in this sense, like, you have a tool list, right? You have an understanding that you just have a little toolbox, and that's all you provide. And that might sound like, people make jokes like, oh, you guys are standing around, what is this, a union job? I know a lot of people like to think that they're like self-made and stuff and all this, and that they work so hard and that they break their back for a company that doesn't really care about them. But I just want to point out that these companies do not care about you. I recently was working, and a foreman, he passed away from heart failure, and work didn't do anything. They didn't do a single thing. I think it just, the word spread, and that was it. So like, I only met the guy once, about a week before it happened, actually, and the guy was totally normal, totally fine, and then one day he just dropped. And yeah, so like, and outside of like a personal care about employees, like, they really don't look after you in terms of like supporting you for the job. Like, there's a lot of times where things will get swept under the rug. There's certain foremen that just say like, do it a certain way, and don't really worry about code or like who's gonna see this. And there's a bunch of employers out there that are like, just get it done. And yeah, so, and that can be at risk to you. That can mean working hot. That can be working hot like all the time. And like, at the end of the day, like, it doesn't take much for a wire nut to slip off and for you to get hit something to happen, like there can, in a situation where you're working hot and they can go bad, you know, you might lose a limb or something, or, you know, give yourself a heart arrhythmia and then maybe never recover. So just want to point out that, like, the culture of safety is at least on a very small level, or in varying degrees, but it's more of a thing in union work. And also, like, yes, you may be laid off. That's totally possible. Like, there's a lot of ways that non-union companies undercut what unions are trying to do. For instance, like, people will say, like, there's no work in the union, and, like, non-union contractors are able to outbid them because A, they don't pay their guys a proper wage, and B, they offload a bunch of costs onto the employee, and the union calls that the breaking down of the terms and conditions of employment. And that's something that happens more so than not in non-union companies. So like, if someone think, like, you have to pay your dues and it's just a big scam, like, I'm not saying that there isn't room for improvement within the union, but I do think that unions in general, and workers getting organized for their collective good, is something that should never be made light of, because these companies, they do not care, and they'll just make a new handbook or something and then cut off the chain of communication for having an established way of talking about these things, and then they'll never end up settling these things. But at least through the union, there's established pathways and actual concern for people's, not just like, I'm going to clock in for my 40 hours and whatever, but they actually, like, kind of care about you starting a family, and, like, caring if you like, go on to make money out of what you're doing, and not just, get money from your paycheck and then go buy more tools, and then you just are, like, in this self-supporting circle that never ends of, I'm gonna buy tools, I'm gonna and then it'll make me a little bit quicker at work, and then eventually someone will notice, and then eventually I'll get a raise, or I'll get seen, or what these things, like, in reality, they don't notice those things. At the end of the day, it's just going to be you on the chopping block, no matter what. You're a cost, and they want you to get it done as quick as possible, and then get rid of you in a lot of cases. And there are certain companies that do break that script and do things differently, but at the end of the day, these people are not looking at you really past 2 years of employment, sometimes not even one. So labor unions, organized workers, are a positive good, and they do a lot for actually having your voice heard and actually giving a crap about you, and seeing a bigger picture of, being able to reach, like, a middle class status, or at least, well, not that I think that's really possible in today's world, but anyways, with trades, but at the end of the day, we work in a capitalist system, and they need a lot of cheap labor for those at the top to continue to work in the model that has been made for them. So try to keep that in mind, that you're in a model that's for profit, and a lot of companies change hands and are bought out by conglomerates and what have you, and that's going to be something that you're always working within. And if they can make a buck off of you and then offload you and go on to the next person, that is something that they are going to do. So if you can go into a union, I'd suggest going that route. There's definitely some drawbacks in certain unions, but establishing a for workers, group is something that should be applauded, and standing together for a common good for all those people is a very